If you're looking for a cool crochet vintage snood to make, then you've come to the right place. I'm Little John Yarns. I come up with brand new patterns every week, so make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell. This pattern is super easy and quick to make. It's created using single crochets and treble crochets. Let's hop into the pattern breakdown. We'll begin with the back of the snood, crocheting in the round, creating a net for your hair. Then we'll move on to the headband, and once the headband is created, we'll just attach it to the snood, and your project is completely done. For this pattern, I'm using DK yarn by Paintbox, and yes, you can use worsted weight yarn. You'll just have to adjust the headband by removing one row. And I'm also using a 3.75mm crochet hook. The written pattern information will be below. As usual, I provide timestamps for easy pattern navigation. We're going to begin by using a 3.75mm crochet hook, and I'm using DK yarn. This is Paintbox yarn in the color Rose Red. We'll start by chaining 5. Let's form a slip knot and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to slip stitch to join into the very first chain. Now we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This chain stitch counts as a treble crochet and a chain 2. Now we're going to yarn over twice and do another treble crochet. 1, 2. Treble crochet, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2, and that's your treble crochet. Let's chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to treble crochet back into the same ring again. So remember, yarn over twice, go into the ring, go through 2, go through 2, and go through 2, and chain 2. That is going to be your pattern repeat all the way around. So we're going to chain 2, treble crochet, chain 2, treble crochet until you have a total of 12 treble crochets, including this first chain right here. So pause your video here and I'll meet you at the completion of your stitches. We've made it back around and you should have a total of 12 treble crochets, including your first chain 4. So let's put our last chain 2 in together. 1, 2, and we're going to slip stitch to join on the 4th chain up from the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, slip stitch to join. All right, if you're deciding to change colors, what you would do right now, you would just fasten off your work here and attach your new color to the chain 2 space right here. But since I'm keeping the same color, what I'm going to do next is just slip stitch into the next chain 2 space. Now chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember, your chain 6 counts as a treble crochet and a chain 2. We're going to put another treble crochet into the very same chain 2 space. Yarn over twice. Go through 2 loops, 2 loops, 2 loops. Your treble crochet is complete. So we're going to be placing a treble crochet, chain 2, treble crochet all into the very same stitch. We're going to call this a treble V stitch. So next we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. Let's place another treble V stitch into the next chain 2 space. So yarn over twice to complete your treble crochet. Go through 2 loops, 2 loops, and 2 loops to complete our treble crochet V stitch, chain 2, and treble crochet back into the very same stitch. Pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2, and that completes our treble crochet V stitch, chain 2. That is going to be our pattern repeat all the way around. Chain 2, treble crochet V stitch into the next chain 2 space, chain 2, treble crochet V stitch into the next chain 2 space, all the way around, and I'll meet you at the other side. We made it to the end of this round, and you should have a total of 24 treble crochets. So let's put our last chain 2 in together. 1, 2. We're going to slip stitch to join into the 4th chain up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slip stitch to join. We're now working on the 3rd row. Slip stitch into the next chain 2 space. Chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Treble crochet back into the very same chain 2 space. Yarn over twice. Pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Your first treble crochet V-stitch is complete. Chain 2, 1, 2. Place 1 treble crochet into the next chain 2 space. Treble crochet. Chain 2. Place a V-stitch treble crochet into the next. Chain 2. Since it's a V-stitch, we're going right back into the same stitch again. Okay, that is going to be our pattern repeat all the way around. We're going to do a V-stitch, chain 2, single treble crochet, chain 2, V-stitch, chain 2, single crochet, not single crochet, single treble crochet. All the way around, and I'll meet you back at the other side. So just remember 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the other side. We've made it back around, and you should have a total of 36 treble crochets. So next we're going to put on our last chain 2, 1, 2, and finish off this row by slip stitching into the 4th chain up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this will be our last increasing row. So we're going to slip stitch into the next chain 2 space. Chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Treble crochet back into this very same chain 2 space. Chain 2. We're going to do 1 treble crochet into the next chain 2 spaces. So we're going to chain 2 treble crochet into this stitch, chain 2, and treble crochet into the next stitch. Chain 2. That is going to be our pattern repeat all the way around. V-stitch, treble crochet, V-stitch, treble crochet, V-stitch. You'll be able to tell, so you're going to place a V-stitch in a previous row's V-stitch all the way around. And don't forget to put your chain 2 in between them all. So pause your video here, and I'll meet you back at the other side. Okay, we've made it back around, and you should have a total of 48 treble crochets. So let's put our last chain 2 in. 1, 2, and we're going to slip stitch to join into the 4th stitch up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops, 1, 2, 3, and I'm losing it. 4. There we go, and slip stitch to join. And we're completely done with our increases. So we're just going to slip stitch into the next chain 2 space and chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Treble crochet into the very next chain 2 space. Chain 1. And that is going to be our pattern repeat all the way around. Treble crochet, chain 2, treble crochet into the next stitch, chain 2. This will be our pattern repeat for a total of 4 rows, including this one. So pause your video here and I'll meet you at the completion of your 4 rows. We completed our 4 additional rows, and here's what your work looks like. It's a little bit curved up on the side. So what we're going to do our last chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to slip stitch a join into the 4th stitch up. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now slip stitch into the chain 2 space. Chain 1. Now we're going to single crochet back into the chain 2 space. And we're going to single crochet in each chain 2 space around. So single crochet in the next chain 2 space and single crochet into the next. All right, just keep placing 1 single crochet in each chain 2 space all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the other side. So pause your video here. We've made it back around, and you can see your hat has reduced in size. So we completed all our single crochets, and now we're just going to slip stitch the join into that very first single crochet and chain 1. Next, we're going to single crochet into the very same stitch and single crochet into each stitch all the way around for the next 3 rows. So you can pause your video here, continue placing 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around for the next 3 rows. We've completed those additional 3 rows, and I just fastened off my work, and we're going to move the hat off to the side. We're going to move on to making the headband part of your snood. I started with a chain of 15. You can pause your video here and catch up to my chain of 15. Okay, once you have your chain, we are going to slip stitch the join into the very first chain stitch to form a ring. Once you have a ring, chain 1. We are going to place 25 single crochet into this ring. So I'll do the first 3 with you. 1, 2, and 3. So pause your video here. Continue placing a total of 25 single crochets into this ring, and I'll meet you at the other side. We've made it back around, and we've completed those 25 single crochets, and we're just going to slip stitch the join into that very first single crochet. Here's the top of the first one, and let's slip stitch the join. Chain 1. We're going to single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So single crochet into that very first stitch and single crochet in each stitch around. So pause your video here, and I'll meet you back at the other side. We've made it back around, and you should have a total of 25 single crochets, and we're going to slip stitch the join into that very first single crochet. We're going to chain 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're going to skip the next 5 stitches, not including this one that we worked from. You can see the one we worked from because it's a little bit tinted up. I don't know if you can see that space, not this one. So let's count 5 stitches that we're going to skip. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and slip stitch into that 6th stitch. Now chain 1. You have a little loop right there. We're going to turn our work. We're going to place 15 single crochets into this newly formed loop. So I'll do the first one with you. That is 1 single crochet. All right, now continue placing the remainder of your 15 single crochets into the newly formed loop. So pause your video here. We completed those 15 single crochet. Now you're going to slip stitch a join into that base of the original chain 10. If you can pull, you can see it tint up a little bit. That is the base that we're going to slip stitch into. And chain 1. We're going to turn our work one more time. And we're going to single crochet into each one of these previous single crochets. So single crochet in the first one, that's 1. And you're going to single crochet in the remainder of these 15 stitches. So pause your video here and continue to place your single crochets across the top loop. Alright, we completed those 15 single crochets, and now we're just going to slip stitch into the base of the original chain 10 stitch. You can see the base, as you can see it tints up a little bit right there. So let's slip stitch. And next we're just going to repeat the last sequence that made this loop, but I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Now we're going to chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to turn our work. We are going to skip 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and slip stitch into the 6th stitch. Chain 1. We're going to turn our work. We're going to place 15 single crochets into this loop, this newly formed loop. So pause your video here, continue placing 15 single crochets into the newly formed loop. We completed the 15 single crochet, and now we're going to slip stitch into the base of that original chain 10 stitch. Chain 1. Turn your work. We're going to place 15 single crochets across this loop right here. So we're going to single crochet in each stitch across for a total of 15. I hope that didn't sound too confusing. So pause your video here, continue placing 1 single crochet all the way across until you make it to the other side. We completed our 15 stitches, and now we're just going to slip stitch into the base of the original chain 10 stitch right here. And that is our pattern repeat. And you're just going to continue repeating and making this loop until it fits the size of your head from ear to ear. Don't worry if you forget the pattern. I'm going to leave a timestamp below on what to do next, because remember, you're just going to chain 10, turn your work, and start the pattern again. So like I said, I'll take you back to that section down below. I'll leave the timestamp. And I'll also leave the number of loops recommended that I had for my own personal headband. Our headband is complete, and you should have a total of 11 loops, including your very first one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And if you find this is too small, it should go from almost ear to ear when you try it on. You can add another loop, or if you want it a little bit smaller, just remove one. So once you have that completed, I want you to mark off the centermost 6 stitches of each side of your loop. So I already marked off the centermost 6 of those. And around on this side, find the centermost 6. It doesn't have to be perfect, because when you wear the headband, it'll be stretched on your head. So now that you have those marks, let's move on to your snood. I put my snood on the inside out. And what we're going to do, see, here's where I left off with my slip stitch to join. I'm going to leave that to the back middle and fold that in half. We're going to mark off the side stitches. Like I said, it doesn't have to be precise. So it's folded in half. I think right about here is the middle of my side, and I'll place a stitch marker. Now that we have our stitch marker set up, let's sew our headband to the bottom of our snood. Okay, I'm going to turn this over. We're going to be working into the center 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3. And let me grab my yarn to get started. We're going to be pretty much slip stitching these together. So let me get this ready. Here is the bottom. I'm going to place my hook into the stitch to the right of the working yarn. And for this back piece, the headband, I'm going to insert my hook right into that first stitch marker. Let me remove, actually, that one, both of these. And let's join these two stitches together. I'm going to join that with a chain stitch. The thing that I'm doing here, I'm going to go insert my hook 2 times in through the front part and 1 time into each stitch in the back, if that makes sense. So let's go right back into the front stitch to attach. That's the same stitch that we started with. But for the next stitch here, we're going to go into the second stitch. I hope that doesn't sound too confusing. And slip stitch loosely. So now we made it to the middle stitch on the front one. We're going to go into that stitch next and go into the third stitch and slip stitch to join. Now for the front piece, we're going to go right back into the same stitch again for the front piece only. Go back into that same stitch, but go into the 4th stitch on the back piece and slip stitch loosely. We don't want to slip stitch too tightly because it'll pinch your work. Now we're going to go into the 3rd and final stitch of the front piece. Let me see, it's kind of hard to see with the red. Next stitch. Now go into the 5th stitch on the back piece and slip stitch loosely. Once again, go into the same stitch on the front piece only. Go in and into the 6th stitch, remove that stitch marker on your back piece. Slip stitch to join and fasten off your work. And now your piece is completely connected. You're going to do the same exact thing on the other side. So pause your video here and repeat the same stitch on the other side of your work. If you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and check out my other crochet vintage patterns.